All right, let's settle in for a beautiful story today. We're going to dive into how a childhood that was just packed with adventure, curiosity, and even some tough times helped create one of the world's greatest storytellers. So, our story kicks off like all the best ones do a long, long time ago. In a small town right on the edge of a great river, we meet a boy named Samuel. But, well, everyone just called him Sam. This first chapter of Sam's life is really all about his relationship with one place, the mighty Mississippi River. And for him, it wasn't just a bunch of water. It was pretty much his whole world. You have to picture it. He'd spend countless hours just sitting by its banks. In the mornings, he'd watch that mist rise up like soft clouds. And in the evenings, he'd see the whole sky turn golden and just shimmer on the water. This was the place where his imagination really came to life. And it was right here that he felt like the river was actually speaking to him. It wasn't just a place, it was like a living, breathing character in his life, whispering these invitations for adventure. And as we're about to see, Sam, well, he always listened. Now, this connection he had with the river, it really shaped the next part of his childhood, which was this remarkable mix of just boundless energy and also a really profound, quiet sadness. I mean, Sam was a boy who was absolutely bursting with life. You know the type. He was the one climbing higher, running faster, and laughing louder than all his friends. And when other kids saw a dark cave and felt that little bit of fear, Sam just saw the beginning of an amazing adventure. He almost always chose curiosity over caution. But, his childhood wasn't all just carefree fun. When he was still just a boy, his father died. And all of a sudden, the laughter in his house got a lot softer, and the weight of being an adult kind of landed on his young shoulders. This quiet sadness, this feeling of having to grow up way too soon, it would one day find its way into his stories about boys looking for freedom on that very same river. But even with all these new responsibilities, Sam held on tight to a really powerful dream, one that was born right there on the banks of his beloved Mississippi. His one great ambition was to become a steamboat pilot. I mean, these pilots were the masters of the river, the absolute heroes of his town, guiding these huge boats through some really powerful, unpredictable currents. To Sam, that was the ultimate adventure. But here's the thing. Achieving that dream was incredibly difficult. The Mississippi wasn't some predictable, straight road. It was alive, and it changed constantly. To become a pilot, Sam had to memorize every single curve, every hidden sandbank you see here, every dangerous current. It took years of really intense study. And you know what? After all that dedication, after all those years of observing and learning the river's deepest secrets, he did it. His dream of becoming a steamboat pilot actually came true. But this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. You'd think achieving your dream is the end of the journey, but for Sam, it was actually the beginning of an entirely new one. So while he was working on the river, he would often hear the crew call out, "Mark Twain." It was a measurement, a signal that the water was 2 fathoms deep, which was just deep enough for the boat to pass safely. And that phrase, which basically meant safe water, it just stuck with him. But then, well, life changed again. Times changed. Railroads were becoming the new big thing, and those grand steamboats became less and less important. And just like that, Sam lost the job he had worked so incredibly hard to get. The path he had dreamed of, the one he'd mastered, it just kind of vanished from under his feet. He found himself completely adrift, He was facing that question that I think a lot of us ask at some point in our lives. When the life you've built just disappears, what do you do now? His answer didn't come from looking forward to something new. It actually came from looking back. Back to the river, and back to the boy that he used to be. He just started to remember. He remembered the adventures in the caves, the whispers of the river, all the colorful characters he'd met, and all the feelings of being young. And he realized these weren't just memories. They were stories, just waiting to be told. And so he picked up a pen. And under that pen name he took right from the river, Mark Twain, he brought his childhood roaring back to life. He gave the world Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, turning his own adventures and the Mississippi River into these timeless tales for everybody. And this quote from him, it just perfectly captures his whole spirit. Faced with a future he couldn't see,
He didn't sit around waiting for a perfect plan. He just started with what he knew, and he transformed his past into a new future, one word at a time.
So, what's the ultimate legacy of this boy from Hannibal? Well, I think it's the idea that even when we grow up, that curious kid we once were is always, always with us. You know, the story of Mark Twain leaves us with these really beautiful gifts. It reminds us that our own experiences, the big ones and the small ones, they really do matter. That our imagination is an absolute treasure. That even our struggles can be reshaped into something meaningful. And that, of course, a little bit of laughter can brighten up just about anything. It's such a powerful reminder, isn't it? That extraordinary things can come from the simplest of beginnings. A curious boy, a powerful river, and a dream. That's all it took to create a legacy that lasts forever. So it makes you wonder, what stories are waiting inside of you? Good night, little storyteller. May your dreams be full of adventures and all the stories that are just waiting to be told.